Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. So happy to have you here, Jason. We always get great feedback on the quote Jason episodes. And today we're talking about how do you know whether she's the one? And this has been a common topic in our group and with our alumni lately. So we thought we would do an episode on it. It seems to be kind of in the field, in the ether. And I wanted to read a few questions that we've gotten from our clients around this. So first one is, I'd like some advice on discerning whether or not to commit to a relationship with a woman I've been seeing. There are some concerns about certain areas of compatibility and a bit of an anxious avoidant dynamic, but also a bit of difficulty wondering if some of my feelings of uncertainty are about the relationship specifically, or more about my own internal stuff, and that I'm possibly pushing someone away that loves me for some unconscious reason. And then the other man says, I've begun dating a woman and I just can't make up my mind. Sometimes I feel like I'm settling and that makes me sad. Sometimes I feel very blessed to have someone as amazing as her who wants to be with me. The question I have is, if I'm having doubts or feelings that I might be settling, does that mean she's not the one? Or is it normal to have these feelings sometimes? So, in a word, we're talking about ambivalence today. We're talking about ambivalence, and there's that feeling I think that you can pick up in those questions of, I'm not sure. I'm not saying she's not the one. I'm not saying she is the one. I'm saying I'm not sure she's the one, and I'm not sure how to evaluate this.
Yeah.
And it seems like in both cases, there's an awareness of, well, I think more in the first case than the second case, there's an awareness of, is this my patterning or is this actually about this other person that I'm with? So I'm curious if you can speak a little bit to kind of your own experience of ambivalence in terms of dating and relationships. And then maybe we can talk about the larger patterns that we've seen.
Yeah. Longtime listeners will know, like, I didn't necessarily have a ton of dating patterning and experience. My issues weren't as much about ambivalence as they were about just getting into connection with women in the first place. In that, once I started moving forward in that regard, I only had a couple of deep relationships before I got married. And, but what I will say is, I got married, which is not being ambivalent, being very clear about, what I was going to do with my partner and where we were going to go. And so that journey was definitely one, I can speak to in terms of, how I knew it was the right partner for me. And I think that's there's so much that swirls for men around this. And just, one thing I'll mention is, this is one of the areas we most see guys get stuck in their heads, ruminating, overanalyzing, trying to think, oh, is there someone better out there? What about this? What about that? Should I not? But I don't want to hurt her. And there's so much underneath often, why men have a hard time committing sometimes. And, contrary to a lot of belief, I'm not of the opinion like men are commitment phobes. I think it's just, when we say yes to something, we want to feel like we're all in. Like just, yeah, if I'm going to do that, I gotta be certain so I can go all in on that. And it's that what gets us to certainty that I think trips up a lot of men. And that's the ambivalence part. And so, in the first quote you read, yeah, there's some legitimate things that, I had an experience of in my relationship. I had enough relationships to know kind of what I was looking for. Right. And for me, that was a partner who was a practitioner and deep on her path of healing and self-growth, who could hang and, have difficult conversations, who liked to adventure, who had purpose in her life, and who liked sex. Those were kind of my main things, like someone who valued those things. And so my experience with my wife, Violet, our early dating was, as I like to say, to discover. We were dating each other to discover, does this person, fulfill those things for me? And for me, that was a yes. Sure, I had some doubts now and then, like just, oh, could there be someone else, or should I be da 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 or da da da? But I think, as I've shared with a lot of our men, what really got me in was the way we were able to move through conflict. I was like, I haven't experienced this with anyone else. And in a way, it required more of me. The relationship required more of me to show up in. And I was like, ooh, I want that. Like, that's good for me. That's good for my growth. And to have a partner who's leaned in every time we've hit some conflict, that was a no-brainer for me. So, strangely enough, I think I've told the story, like, I went to a festival with my partner, and I wasn't even on the radar